What is going on, everybody? What is going on? The Catch fam, my name is John Dawson, and in today's video, we are hopping into a 10-team full PPR mock draft for the 2023 fantasy football season. Guys, it is mock draft season. This is what I do every single August, every year. If you have any mock draft requests, regardless of format, 10 teams, 12 teams, half PPR, full PPR, super flex, 3 wide receivers, double flex, whatever it may be, let me know in the comments down below and I will get a video just like this one put together for you guys where I give you round by round roster construction advice. And if you guys are new to the channel, I would greatly appreciate if you guys hit that subscribe button on the way in, hit the like button on the way in, whether you guys are new or not, because it truly helps me out. And please, any other comments, questions, concerns you guys have pertaining to the 2023 fantasy football season, feel free to drop down below and I'll get back to you guys as soon as I possibly can. So for the purpose of today's video, we've got 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, 1 flex, kicker, and defense because it's August, and 5 bench spots. So without further ado, let's not waste any more time. Let's hop into today's mock draft. All right, so for the purpose of today's video, we are sitting at the 1.10. So we're just going to kind of sit back and see how the first round goes. But no surprise here. We've got Justin Jefferson gone as well as Jamar Chase with those first 2 picks. And a majority of your full PPR formats, those are going to be the first 2 guys off of the board. Christian McCaffrey maybe slides in front of Chase because some people out there are worried with the Joe Burrow calf strain and all that, that maybe Chase loses a tiny bit of value beginning of the season, whatever it may be. But ultimately, for me, you're still going Chase at the 1.2. Nonetheless, when we're looking at things in these 10-team formats, for me, I'm either going to start my draft with a hero running back method or just going aggressive at wide receiver, especially from the 1.10. This is kind of a spot, I don't see Bijan falling out. C-Mac's definitely not going to be there. And more than likely, even in a 10-team format, you're probably not going to see Eckler there, although it is possible. Saquon is the one running back who we could go with here if we wanted to go hero running back. Maybe we'll try it just for the purpose of today's video. And then Kelsey's still on the board as well. So, it's kind of an interesting spot to draft from. Yeah, hard to pass on Kelsey right here. Who is available? And I know if I don't pick him, some of you guys out there are going to be mad. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try hero running back method. I'm going to go Saquon Barkley, and I'm going to go CeeDee Lamb, though. So Nick Chubb, another name who has really started to drift into the first round, even in some of the 12-team mocks that I run. So Nick Chubb definitely becoming a more and more popular player in terms of rankings. But there goes Kelsey, and I'm glad he did because Kelsey should be gone at this point in the draft. And typically, I don't have a problem whatsoever going Kelsey right there. But for the purpose of today's mock and the strategy that I wanted to run through, we're going to go running back and Saquon Barkley at the 110, then take our first wide receiver with CeeDee Lamb at the 2.1. And another point, another advantage that you have if you do play in a 10-team format is, positional advantage at quarterback and tight end is going to be important, okay? But you can still get a kind of top-tier quarterback at a really good value in this format. And I think, if you don't get Kelsey at the beginning of the draft, like we passed on today, you're still going to be able to get a good value tight end later in your draft. So don't panic at those 2 positions. You still want good value. You don't want to completely punt the position, quarterback and tight end, but you can sit back a little bit and still come out of your draft with a really good quarterback, whether it's Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, someone in that range, and still get a very good tight end. I mean, in a lot of these 10-team mocks that I've been running for the community, I'm getting Evan Ingram super late. I'm getting Pat Freiermuth super late. David Njoku, Cole Kmet. I'm happy coming out of my draft with those guys if I don't come out of things with Kelsey or Andrews. I really am. So, yeah, we passed on Kelsey today, but that's just because I wanted to run through a specific strategy here. So let's refocus here. Let's take a look here at the 310 4.1. We've got running back out of the way. We're going hero running back. We're not drafting running back again until probably like the 6.1, maybe the 5.10. We're probably going to go quarterback at 5.10, running back at 6.1. So that means we're just going back-to-back wide receivers here at 3.10 and 4.1. We want to go ahead and knock out that wide receiver 2 spot and then knock out the flex spot as well. In full PPR formats, we want wide receivers that we have confidence in in both the wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 spot and the flex spot. And then I'm not even afraid, if I need to or feel like it's the right move, to go with a fourth wide receiver before we even go quarterback or RB2, because we want a wide receiver on the bench that we can filter in at any time into that flex spot, into one of the primary wide receiver spots if necessary. If injuries occur, if any bye weeks pop up, of course, you want someone that you have confidence in, because, in my opinion, full PPR formats, the most important position, hands down, is going to be the wide receiver position, which is why, I kind of like to go aggressive at wide receiver to start drafts. Like, we could have started tonight's draft with CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb and A.J. Brown, for example. But I also think if you're at the end of the first round or even the beginning of the first round, you have to consider hero running back as well. So Barkley, really the only guy in that range that I'm willing to go hero running back with. I don't really mind Chubb as well. But personally, I do kind of prefer like Bijan, Eckler, C-Mac, and those hero running back builds. Nonetheless, here we are, wide receiver. Calvin Ridley almost fell to us. I mean, Diggs, St. Brown, and Ridley is a monster start for Team 8 there. But let's take 2 wide receivers off the board here. There's quite a few players that, we could consider here. Metcalf, Debo, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Hopkins, McLaurin, DJ Moore, all kinds of names here. Let's just take Metcalf. It doesn't always really excite me when Metcalf is there, but I still do like Metcalf as a wide receiver 2 or flex option. Then let's go Amari Cooper. I love him in this range, this kind of tier of wide receiver, so I'll take him all day long there. Not upset whatsoever. I don't mind DJ Moore in that range. I don't mind Debo Samuel. I mean, DJ Moore is a wide receiver I've been drafting all offseason long, who I have a ton of shares of, and I'll keep drafting him. But I do feel like, Metcalf is going to bring that consistency no matter what, even if the ceiling's not completely high, especially with JSN being there. But Metcalf, still a good fantasy wide receiver. You know what you're going to get out of him on a weekly basis, so I don't have a problem taking him there whatsoever. And then Cooper, your wide receiver 10 last year in fantasy, I'll take him all day long right there. And that knocks out the wide receiver 2 and flex spot. So, like I said, moving into the 5'10", the 6.1, we are probably taking a quarterback. We'll see how things look. We've got 3 quarterbacks gone here in the 4th round, so potentially going to see a little bit of a run at the position. And then we're probably taking our running back 2 off of the board. But we're going to sit there and see who is available at wide receiver. And quite a few of these I've still gotten pretty good running back 2, running back 3 value at like the 7'10", 8.1. Then, kind of taking a flyer at the position in one of those later rounds as well. Whether it's, Jarrett McKinnon, Devon A. Shane, whether it's Damian Harris, Zach Charbonnet, just somebody who presents value at, our RB4 spot. But for me, in these redraft formats, I don't put a ton of value at the running back position. You still want good players, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to like the RB4 spot, I'm kind of just going for a running back with upside in one of those later rounds. And, in redraft formats, especially in 10 teams where you're going to have more players popping up on the waiver wire, I'm okay with coming out of your draft with just 4 running backs. Okay, let's take the value at wide receiver. Let's take the depth at the wide receiver position. But of course, you always have to read the board, read the draft that you're currently in, and we'll kind of see what happens for the purpose of today's mock draft. So, 4th round wrapping up with a little bit of a run at the running back position. Jacobs, Walker, Najee, Aaron Jones, and Joe Mixon. And then we will move right into the 5th round. There goes another quarterback to end the 4th, and there goes Drake London to start the 5th. So there goes Justin Fields. Let's take a look, right? Like, we kind of touched on this. Like, you want that positional advantage at quarterback, for example, in these 10-team drafts. But you want to be able to get it at a good value. So if we can land Joe Burrow, who's falling in drafts right now because of the calf strain injury, which I'm not really personally concerned about. If we can land Justin Herbert, if we can land Trevor Lawrence, I'm happy. And I still feel like we're getting elite quarterback value without having to go quarterback in the 3rd, 4th round, right? And sometimes, tonight we didn't see Mahomes gone till 4.2, but sometimes in these 10-teamers, like, you'll see Mahomes gone as early as the end of the 2nd. It just depends on your draft, your league, who you're drafting with, all that stuff. So depends. But nonetheless, if we end up with Burrow, Herbert, or T-Law, at the 5'10", 6'1" turn, I'm completely happy with our QB1. So we'll probably go ahead and draft one of them. But looking at wide receivers, I mentioned it earlier. Like, I am just going to be tempted to take that fourth wide receiver right here and have a stud on the bench and then just go back to back running back at 7-10 and 8-1. Then probably get another wide receiver at 9-10. If not, our tight end, then get that kind of flyer fourth running back at 10.1. So there are some running backs I like here. I mean, you got Dobbins, Madison, Kamara, DeAndre Swift, Akers. There goes Akers, James Conner, Dalvin Cook. We'll see what happens. Let's risk it tonight. Give me Burrow, and then let's take DJ Moore. I mean, I really like Christian Kirk, who's still available. I really like Brandon Ayuk. So some really good names for that kind of. There goes Ayuk, wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 range for your rosters. I like Hollywood Brown. Still got Jerry Jeudy available, DeAndre Hopkins, Chris Godwin, Michael Pittman, Tyler Lockett, Mike Williams. There are some really good names here. So for me, it's just tough to pass on players like that at the position that I value the most. So, the big question is now, what two running backs do we land with these next two picks at the 7-10, 8.1 turn? I don't think Swift will be there. I don't think Kamara, Madison, or Dobbins will be there. There goes Rashad White. So for me, like, I'm kind of looking at like David Montgomery, Isaiah Pacheco, and if we have to, Antonio Gibson, AJ Dillon. But what I prefer is kind of that Pacheco Monty range. And they might not be there. I mean, those are two names that are still relatively popular as we're moving along in the draft. But at the same time, you want to look at the draft board, right? This has been a pretty heavy running back draft so far. The quarterback value is starting to thin out a bit. There's only 2 tight ends gone, and there's some really good wide receivers available. So maybe some of that works to our advantage, and we're able to land solid RB2 and RB3. And like I said, you don't want to just completely punt at the position. But if we get put in that position where, I just feel like there's not good value on the board, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I still think no matter what, you go with the best value at the 7-10 and at the 8.1 for the running back position. I'm not too worried about tight end because this has been a light tight end draft. There goes Hawkinson. I mean, that's our 3rd tight end off the board so far. So, the way things are looking right now, I wouldn't mind a little bit of a run at tight end, but I'm just not worried about it. I think we can still get a good value player in the 9th, 10th, or maybe even the 11th, 12th turn as well. So we'll see what kind of happens. But right now, I'm feeling pretty good. We've got Burrow, quarterback. Saquon's our RB1. CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf, Amari Cooper, and DJ Moore at wide receiver. So, like I said, if you're in the right position and you can get a 4th wide receiver that you have confidence in, that you're able to filter in if necessary, that's going to be huge in full PPR leagues. Now, you could go like running back there at the 6.1, maybe Rashad White, DeAndre Swift, Dobbins, Madison, whoever you prefer. And maybe you hold off a bit. Like maybe there is, in your opinion, equal value at wide receiver available at the 7-10. So we'll see what happens. Or maybe there's just a sleeper guy, Jahan Dotson, Jordan Addison, George Pickens, whoever it may be that you like more. That's okay too. But I want to go with a guy that I have 100% confidence in, and I think DJ Moore is going to have a great season. I've been talking about it ever since he got traded to the Bears. So we'll kind of see what happens. So far, just one running back gone since that Rashad White pick. So top available quarterbacks, T-Law, Prescott, Watson. Top available running backs, Madison, Kamara, Swift. Top available wide receivers, Lockett, Evans, JSN. Top available tight ends, Pitts, Goddard, Waller. So a lot of good value across the board. We're just going to kind of sit back, see how the 7th round wraps up here, and see who we land at the running back position. All right, and Kamara's off the board, followed by Trevor Lawrence and then Deontay Johnson. All good values here. I am happy we went quarterback in the 5th round there, or, at the very end of the 5th round, because if, this is really the quarterbacks that are gone right now, this is the tier quarterbacks that I want a piece of. Okay. So once T-Law and Herbert are gone, I still think there's okay value, Prescott, Watson, Tua. But for me, I want a piece of the quarterbacks that are on the board right now. So, all right, we're sitting okay at running back. I love DeAndre Swift and the upside that he brings as an RB2. You can go Pacheco here. You can go Monty. Go Alexander Madison, whoever you want. I think they're all good options, but I think the Lions are going to run the football a ton this year. I think Monty could end up being just a complete touchdown vulture. I'm actually really happy with the 2 running backs we landed right there. Just kind of depends on the draft, right? Like I said, looking at the board, it had already been a pretty heavy running back draft. good value quarterbacks, tight ends, and a lot of wide receivers available that all did end up working to our advantage. DeAndre Swift, I know some of you guys out there hate him. You've been burnt by him. Don't get me wrong. The injury history is there. Kenneth Gainwell's, making news, and I've talked about Gainwell a lot this offseason. Rashad Penny's still there. But the Eagles are going to be able to line up DeAndre Swift and use him to his best potential, to his specific skill set. He's going to be involved in the pass game. He's going to have a good season. Is he going to be incredibly consistent? I'm not entirely sure, but I think he brings a lot of upside to the table. Opposing defenses are going to have to count for A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Jalen Hurts is a dual threat quarterback, Dallas Goddard. I just think Swift is going to have a lot of weeks where he really booms. I'll take that upside in the 7th round all day long. Like I said, I think Monty's just going to be a good consistency piece. He's going to get a lot of touchdowns. Gibbs is the upside back there. Don't get me wrong. I want plenty of shares of Gibbs as well. But Monty is an RB3 I'll take all day long. Plus, he's in a great handcuff situation on top of that behind Gibbs. So, nonetheless, I don't really think he's behind Gibbs. He's kind of next to Gibbs, if anything. But a lot of good value here in the 8th round. I mean, I like Addison. I love Dotson in the 8th round. Love Pickens. I still think Lockett's a really good pick. And I don't even mind Alexander Madison if you prefer him over those two running backs I just went. I don't mind Isaiah Pacheco, but Swift and Monty, I just like the feel of both those guys. So happy with those two picks. Moving on to the 9.10 and the 10.11. Yeah, we're probably taking another wide receiver. But if Antonio Gibson's there, I'll definitely consider him. Javonte, James Cook, A.J. Dillon, Brian Robinson. There are other names that I like there as well. We'll kind of see what happens here. But Gibson, if he's there, I'll take him. And there goes Zay Flowers, who was the next guy I was literally about to talk about. If Zay Flowers is there, then we're taking Zay Flowers. But Quentin Johnston, I don't mind. I still think taking a shot on a rookie wide receiver is smart because the trend in the past couple of years, the NFL, fantasy football, is that rookie wide receivers do produce. So take a shot on someone, identify the rookie wide receivers you like the best, but JSN, Addison, Flowers, Quentin Johnston, all worth taking a shot on, right? So there goes Quentin Johnston. So we're not getting one of those guys. Maybe in a later tier, we identify some players. But Sky Moore is the next guy that pops up for me. Mike Evans still sitting here. I'll definitely consider him. I like Cortland Sutton as we get into these later rounds of wide receivers. And I really like Romeo Doubs, who I know scored the touchdown in the preseason game. So he's going to start to get some more hype. But we've been talking about Romeo Doubs for weeks now. The reports that he's been one of Jordan Love's favorite targets in training camp. We've kind of ran with that. And, don't get me wrong, Watson's a guy that you want to draft. He's the upside player, but I do think that Romeo Doubs, like I've been saying for a couple weeks now, is definitely going to have the potential to be a very consistent player who kind of has that strong PPR value throughout the year. But, great touchdown grab in the preseason game. That's probably going to start to elevate his ADP a little bit. All right. So moving into the 9th round here, I don't know if I'm going to pass up on Goddard at this point in the draft. I think we could continue to fade tight end, but Goddard's just too good of a value. So Gibson's gone. I like Brian Robinson as an RB4, though. I don't mind Charbs as an RB4, Devon A. Shane, Jerick McKinnon. So maybe we hold off here and go Sky Moore because I don't think we land Sky Moore if we don't draft him next. But yeah, I mean, I'm just not going to pass on Goddard here. I'll take him as my tight end 1 all day long. Then let's go Sky Moore. I'll take the upside here. I mean, obviously he's gained enough hype throughout the offseason so far. But, he's working with the ones. Don't get me wrong, Justin Ross has as well to some degree. And Kadarius Toney's expected back week 1. But I've liked Sky Moore all offseason long. And I definitely like the potential upside that he brings as well. So, yeah, in this tier right here, Zay Flowers, Sky Moore, Romeo Doubs, those are kind of the names that I'm looking at. And I really like Cortland Sutton as well, who I've also been talking about for a couple of weeks, even before the Tim Patrick injury. So, his ceiling, not super high last year, but I've said this 100 times. He gave you double digits every game he was healthy in, except for 4 last year. Basically missed 3 games, got hurt week 13, and missed that whole game after he got hurt. And then, he only had 1 target in that game. Then missed the following 2 weeks. So, yeah, the ceiling wasn't high last year, but the consistency was there. He was someone, worst case scenario, throw him into your flex. You're going to get a low ceiling double digit, points at the end of the day. So I still like Cortland Sutton, and if you believe in this Broncos offense taking any steps forward with Sean Payton as a head coach, believe in Russell Wilson improving, then Cortland Sutton should be a part of that as well. So I still like Sutton in this range. If he falls to us, I'll take him all day long. But we do need to go out and get our RB4. So Devon Shane, I'll take him all day long. Brings that upside to the table. I've loved him ever since he got drafted to the Dolphins. He fits that offense perfectly. Might be a small running back, but man, he brings so much speed to the table. You got to imagine that McDaniel is going to find a way to utilize his skill set. Might not be super consistent, but I think the upside is there, and I'm fine with that at this point in the draft. But there goes Devon Shane. But I also don't mind Jarek McKinnon. I think that Damian Harris is worth considering as well. So, all things considered, I think we have a stud quarterback, a stud tight end, pretty good running back room so far that we just kind of got to kind of polish out here. And then, we're just going to snag one more wide receiver after that and draft our kicker and defense. So I think so far we've navigated this draft pretty well. If Ridley fell to us at 310, that would have been amazing, but I don't think that's likely to happen anyways. Metcalf, I'm fine with as a wide receiver 2. I love Cooper as a wide receiver 3, but yeah, Metcalf maybe doesn't feel like there's a ton of upside there. But the fact that we got DJ Moore at the 6-1, I think really kind of helped equal out that Metcalf pick, which I'm not upset about. I just don't think there's a ton of upside there. But towards the end of this draft, that's what we're going for here. Jarek McKinnon is off the board, so we're probably going Damian Harris at running back. Not a lot of upside there, but hey, at least it potentially gives us some consistency, right? Damian Harris was hurt last year, only played in 11 games, but the year before that, 929 rushing yards, 15 rushing touchdowns. Yeah, Josh Allen's a dual threat quarterback. James Cook is there. But at the end of the day, I think Damian Harris just a good running back to kind of go with at the end of your draft. So, nonetheless, Sutton just got taken. I was about to say Sutton's still on the board, but there he is. He's gone. So we'll talk about some other wide receivers we can take at this point in the draft. I don't think there's any reason to go with the second quarterback or tight end here, unless you're really worried about the Joe Burrow injury. So, I mean, I guess we could consider going quarterback here just in case you are worried about it. Then you can kind of see what it looks like. But, let's take Damian Harris off the board. Then, the wide receivers aren't that interesting, and I am actually going to go wide receiver here. Like I said, he could go Prescott or Anthony Richardson, but once again, you can still wait one more, round for a quarterback and probably still land like Geno Smith or Daniel Jones, Kyler Murray, whatever, if you're worried about Burrow's injury. So I'm going to go Juju Smith-Schuster here, which some of you guys out there really hate. Some of you guys don't mind at all. At the end of the day, Juju is slated to be the wide receiver 1 for the Patriots. So, do what you want with that information. But in full PPR formats, I do think he holds some value. I always say bad offenses still produce good fantasy players at the end of the day. So, yeah, I'm not super excited about Juju either. But at the end of the day, this is my wide receiver 6. I'll take a shot on him because if he's getting enough targets, he's still going to bring enough productivity to the table that he's worth taking at this point in the draft. But I have talked about Allen Lazard a lot throughout the offseason. I still like Allen Lazard in that range. I just think he's going to be, full PPR formats, a good player to target because he's going to be that security blanket, that guy that Rodgers is really comfortable with. He's not getting his first read. He's just going to try and look for Allen Lazard. They had that chemistry from their time in Green Bay. A lot of people out there don't like Allen Lazard, but when you look at last year, before Watson took off, Lazard was very consistent. 9.3 or more fantasy points in every game he was healthy through the first 9 games. And the 9.3, if you take that out of the equation, 11 and a half or more fantasy points in every game he was healthy through the first 9 games of the season, except for week 2 against Chicago, which he still scored a touchdown in that game. So, I still think he has value, and he even, started to show that value in full PPR towards the end of the year as well. But I do think he's worth taking a shot on in this range. I also like Jacoby Myers because he's a good receiver, not a great wide receiver, but a good wide receiver. He's playing alongside Devontae Adams. All the defensive pressure is going to go there for the most part. And the Raiders are just going to be playing from behind a lot this year, simply put, because their defense is going to be awful. Okay, Darnell Mooney, take a shot on him if you like the Bears offense. I do think they're going to take a step forward this year. So I still like Mooney, who was starting to get going last year before he got hurt, right around the same time Justin Fields started to get going. So still like Mooney, full PPR formats. We talked about rookie wide receivers earlier to take a shot on. You got Rashee Rice, Jalen Hyatt in this range. But I probably don't like those. I mean, Rashee Rice is interesting, don't get me wrong. But there are other names I think you can potentially consider. Marvin Mims is one, Jaden Reed another, Josh Downs, Tank Dell. Wait a little bit longer and still land those guys. I think it's okay to wait for them. But I like Rashid Shaheed the best in this range. Give me the upside that he brings to the table. Van Jefferson, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Isaiah Hodgins. There's always someone at wide receiver that is worth taking a shot on late at this point. But we're not going wide receiver anyway, so let's just draft our kicker and defense and call this thing a day. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter here. Let's just take the Ravens and let's take Jason Myers. I mean, we always encourage you guys, don't reach for kickers and defenses. You can stream them. We're one of the few fantasy channels that cares about kickers and defense. You guys still play with those, which a lot of you guys still do. We have a must-start kicker video and a must-start defense video that we put out every week during the season. So don't worry, we do care about those positions, but don't reach for a kicker or defense before drafting as many skill position players as you can. There's always going to be value in streaming kickers and defenses throughout the season. All right, so let's take one final look at the roster for the night. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought of today's draft. Let me know if you guys have any mock draft requests. Like I said at the beginning of the video, doesn't matter what format, 8 teams, 14 teams, half PPR, double quarterback, 3 wide receiver. I don't care. It's what I do every month of August. Let me know. It's mock draft season. I'd be happy to put together a video like this with your specific league settings and even drafting from whatever spot you're drafting from, whatever you want. Or if you want to join in and draft with me, whatever it may be, just let me know in the comments down below. Okay. Burrow quarterback. I'm still okay with that. If we're getting closer to the end of August and things aren't looking as bright for Burrow, we could go Herbert there. We could go T-Law. I'm okay with it. I think both those guys are going to have great years. Goddard in the 9th was just too good to pass on. If we did pass on him, we wouldn't have landed Freiermuth. We would have not landed Ingram, but we could have got Komet or Njoku, at the 11th, 12th round turn, which I'm fine with as well. But Goddard in the 9th, I'll take all day long. So I'm happy with quarterback, happy with tight end. Barkley, Swift, Monty, and Damian Harris. I'm okay with that running back room. Like I said, 4 running backs is fine for me. And I love the value that we got on Swift and Monty all day long after going DJ Moore in the 6th. So wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf, Amari Cooper, DJ Moore, Sky Moore, and Juju Smith-Schuster. I'll take that wide receiver room all day long. Ravens defense, Jason Myers, we're good at defense and kicker. So we'd be starting Burrow, starting Goddard, starting Barkley and Swift, starting Lamb and Metcalf, flexing Cooper. If you play in a double flex league, you can flex DJ Moore, you can flex David Montgomery, and even Sky Moore, Damon Harris, and Juju Smith-Schuster still have some flex appeal as well. And that's what you're looking for on your bench. A, you're looking for upside, but B, you're looking for guys that have that flex appeal who can make it into your roster if need be. So, happy with this team all day long. I think this is actually a pretty good squad. So, let me know in the comments down below, like I said, what you guys thought of today's draft overall, what you guys thought of this team. And if you guys have any mock draft requests, let me know. Make sure you guys subscribe, hit the like, check out our links down below, follow us on Instagram, join our free Discord. We have mock drafts going all day long on our Discord. You guys can post your own mock drafts. Members of our community will come out, compete against you, help you guys practice, and you guys can give me mock draft requests at any point on the Discord as well. So that'll wrap it up today. And with that, I will say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And remember, you saw it here on The Catch.